friends, welcome to The Point. In this session, we are discussing about the physical features of India. So we have learned that India is a vast country with a varied landforms. But if we live in the plains, we are familiar with the vast stretches of the plainland. In contrast, if we are living in a hilly region, the rugged terrain with the mountains and valleys are the common features. Our country, it has practically all major physical features of the earth like mountains, plains, deserts, plateaus and islands. In this session, we will be learning about a major physical features of India and how they are formed. India is a large landmass formed during different geological periods and that has influenced their relief. Beside geological formation, a number of processes like weathering, erosion, and deposition, this have created and modified the relief to its present form. And scientists have attempted to explain the formation of physical features with the help of some theories based on certain evidences. And one such plausible theory is the theory of plate tectonics. And according to this theory, the crust, that is upper part of the earth, it has been formed out of 7 major and 7 minor plates. The movement of the plates, it results in building up of stresses within the plates and the continental rocks above, which leads to folding, faulting and volcanic activity. And these plate movements are classified into 3 types. While some plates come towards each other and they form a convergent boundary. And some plates, they move away from each other and they form a divergent plate boundary. In the event of the 2 plates coming together, they may either collide and crumble or one may slide under the other. At times, they may also move horizontally past each other and form a transform fault plate boundary. The movement of these plates, it have changed the position and shape of the continents over millions of years, and such movements have also influenced the evolution of the present landform features of India. The oldest landmass, it was the part of Gondwana land, and the Gondwana land, it included India, Australia, South Africa, South America and Antarctica as one single landmass. The convectional current, it split the crust into number of pieces and thus it led to the drifting of Indo-Australian plate after being separated from the Gondwana land towards the north. And the northward drift, it resulted in the collision of the plate with much larger Eurasian plate. And due to this collision, the sedimentary rocks which were accumulated in the geosyncline known as Tethys were folded to form the mountain system of Western Asia and Himalaya. The Himalayan uplift out of the Tethys Sea and subsidence of the northern flank of the peninsular plateau, it resulted in the formation of a large basin. And in the course of time, this depression, it gradually got filled with deposition of sediments by the rivers flowing from the mountains in the north and peninsular plateau in the south. A flat land of extensive alluvial deposits, it led to the formation of northern plains. In India, the land of India, it displays a great physical variation. Geologically, the peninsular plateau, it constitutes one of the ancient landmass on the earth's surface and it was supposed to be one of the most stable land blocks. The Himalayas and the northern plains are the most recent landforms. From the viewpoint of geology, Himalayan mountains from an unstable zone. The whole mountain system of Himalaya, it represents a very youthful topography with high peaks, deep valleys and fast-flowing rivers. The northern plains are formed of alluvial deposits. The peninsular plateau, it is composed of igneous and metamorphic rocks with gently rising hills and wide valleys. Major physiographic divisions. The physical features of India, it can be grouped under the following physiographic divisions like the Himalayan mountains, the northern plains, the peninsular plateau, the Indian desert, the coastal plains and the islands. Let's discuss about these divisions one by one. The Himalayan mountains. The Himalayas, they are geologically young and structurally fold mountains that stretch over the northern borders of India. And these mountain ranges, they run in the west-east direction from the Indus to Brahmaputra. The Himalayas represent the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. They form an arc which covers a distance of about 2,400 km. Their width varies from 400 km in Kashmir to 150 km in Arunachal Pradesh. The altitudinal variations are greater in the eastern half than those in the western half. The Himalayas consist of three parallel ranges in its longitudinal extent. The northernmost range is known as the Great or Inner Himalayas, or it also called as Himadri. It is the most continuous range consisting of loftiest peak with an average height of 6,000 meters, and it contains all prominent Himalayan peaks. The range of mountains lying to the south of Himadri, it forms the most rugged mountain system, and it is known as Himachal, or also called as Lesser Himalayas. The ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed and altered rocks. The altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters, and the average width is 50 km, while the Pir Panjal range forms the longest and most important range. The outermost range of the Himalayas is called Shivaliks. They extend over a width of 10 to 50 kilometers, and they have an altitude varying between 900 and 1100 meters, and these ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by the rivers from the main Himalayan ranges located far away from the north. These valleys are covered with a thick gravel and alluvium. The northern plains. The northern plain, it has been formed by the interplay of three major river systems, namely the Indus, the Gangas, and the Brahmaputra rivers along with their tributaries. This plain is formed of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. It spreads over an area of 7 lakh square kilometer. The plain being about 2,400 km long and 240 to 320 km broad, it is densely populated. The rivers coming from northern mountains are involved in depositional work. In the lower course, due to gentle slopes, the velocity of the river decreases, which results in the formation of riverine islands. The rivers in their lower course split into numerous channels due to the deposition of slit, and these channels are known as distributaries. The northern plain, it is broadly divided into three sections. The western part of the northern plain, it is referred to as Punjab Plains. Formed by the Indus and its tributaries, the larger part of this plain lies in Pakistan. The Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Satluj originate in the Himalaya. This section of the plain, it is dominated by dopes. The Ganga plain extends between Ghaggar and Teesta rivers, and it is spread over the states of North India, Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal to its east. Particularly in Assam lies the Brahmaputra plain. The northern plains, they are generally described as flat land with no variations in its relief. It is not true. These vast plains also have a diverse relief features. According to the variations in relief features, the northern plains can be divided into four regions. The rivers, after descending from the mountain deposit, pebbles in a narrow belt of about 8 to 16 km in width, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks, and it is known as Bhabar. All the streams disappear in this Bhabar belt. South of this belt, the streams and rivers emerge and create a wet, swampy and marshy regions, and it is known as Terai. This was thickly forested region full of wildlife. The forest, it have been cleared to create agricultural land and to settle migrants from Pakistan after the partition. The largest part of northern plain is formed of older alluvium, and it lies above the floodplains of the rivers and presents a terrace-like features, and this part is known as Bhangar. The soil in this region, it contains calcareous deposits locally known as Kankar. The newer, younger deposits of the floodplains are called as khadar. They are renewed almost every year and they are very fertile. Thus, it is very intensive for agriculture. The Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau, it is a tableland. It is composed of old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks, and it was formed due to the breaking and drifting of Gondwana land and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. The plateau, it has a broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills. This plateau, it consists of two broad divisions, namely the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. The part of the Peninsular Plateau that lies to the north of the Narmada River, it covers a major area of Malwa Plateau and it is known as the Central Highlands. The Vindhyan Range, it is bounded by the Satpura Range on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. In the further westward extension, it merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan, and the flow of rivers draining this region, namely Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, and Ken, is from southwest to northeast, and thus it indicates the slope. The Central Highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east. The eastward extension of this plateau, it is locally known as Bundelkhand and Bhagalkhand. The Chota Nagpur Plateau marks a further eastward extension which is drained by Damodar River. The Deccan Plateau, it is a triangular landmass that lies to the south of river Narmada. The Satpura Range, it flanks its broad base in the north while the Mahadev, the Kaimur Hills and the Michael Range from its eastern extensions. The Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes are gently eastwards. An extension of the plateau, it is also visible in the northeast, locally known as Meghalaya, Karbi Anglong Plateau and North Kashgar Hills. It is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Three prominent hills from the west to the east are the Garo, the Kasi and the Jaintia Hills. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats, it marks the western and the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau. The Western Ghats, it lie parallel to the Western Ghats and they are continuous and they can be crossed through passes only, whereas the Eastern Ghats are not continuous. The Indian Desert. Indian Desert, it lies towards the western margins of the Aravalli Hills. It is an undulating sandy plain which is covered with sand dunes, and this region, it receives a very low rainfall below 150 mm per year, and it has a very arid climate with low vegetation cover. Streams appear during the rainy season. Soon after they disappear into the sand as they do not have enough water to reach the sea. Luni is the only large river in this region. Burchan's cover, which is a crescent-shaped dunes, it has a larger areas, but longitudinal dunes, it becomes more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. The coastal plains. The Peninsular Plateau, it is flanked by a stretch of narrow coastal stripes running along the Arabian Sea on the west and Bay of Bengal on the east. The western coast, which is sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, it is a narrow plain and it consists of three sections. The northern part of the coast is called as Konkan, that is from Mumbai to Goa. The central stretch is called as Kannad Plain, while the southern stretch is referred to as Malabar Coast. The plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. In the northern part, it is referred to as Northern Sirkar, while the southern part is known as Coromandel Coast. Large rivers such as Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri have formed extensive delta on this coast. Lake Chilika is an important feature along the eastern coast. The islands. The Lakshadweep Island of India, it's a group of islands that lies close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. And this group of islands, it is composed of small coral islands. Earlier they were known as Lakadiv, Minicoy and Amnidiv. These three islands were named as Lakshadweep. It covers a small area of 32 square kilometer, and Kavarati Island, it is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. This island group It has a great diversity of flora and fauna. The Piti Island, which is uninhabited, it has a bird sanctuary. So, in the Bay of Bengal, there is an elongated chain of islands which is extending from north to south, and these are Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are bigger in size and more numerous and scattered. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories, the Andaman in the north and Nicobar in the south. And it is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains, and these island groups are of great strategic importance for the country. There is a great diversity of flora and fauna in this group of islands too. And these islands, they lie very close to the equator and they experience equatorial climate and they has a thick forest cover. See you in the next session with some other interesting topic. Thank you.